All right, getting ready for the test three in this class, MAT217. I'm not going to give you too much here because I don't tend to give you guys too much anyways for his review. But because I think it's important you understand everything, right? I'm not going to dictate to you, study these problems because that's not good for your learning. But what I will kind of dictate to you is a kind of a breakdown of how I see the importance of this chapter. And so you can kind of focus your studying on which sections are kind of important. 6.1 and 6.2 were really just preparatory for what we were getting into. So I personally will give you none of those on the test. They were just set theory. So I will use the set theory notation throughout the rest of the class, and I'll use it in the other sections. But I'm not going to test you on set theory problems, right? I don't need to do that. Notational type things, nah. All right, 6.3. 6.3. That was the counting, the addition and multiplication principle. For 6.3, we're going to kind of hammer all those topics in the harder probability problems anyway. So I'll give you one of those, just one problem somewhere in there, kind of highlighting just did you even get the basic concept of that? 6.4 was covering permutations and combinations. And once again, we're going to get those in the chapter 7 stuff, right, with all the probabilities. So I'll probably give you one or so of those. Just by itself, just a permutation combination counting type problem, but not a probability. So then on to 7.1 and 7.2. Again, those were preparatory. Those were just getting us ready for this what was about to come. So again, there will be none of those on the test. So I'm just going to kind of erase that. Because again, notation and that kind of stuff, I'll see that when you're doing the problems. So the bulk of the questions are now going to come from 7.3 and on. So 7.3, usually I put about 3 of those. 7.4, I'll put about 3 of those. 7.5, what was 7.5? 7.5 was my brain, conditional probabilities. 3 of those, somewhere in there. And then finally, 7.6, everybody's favorite, Bayes theorem. And 2 of those. I gave you 2 Bayes, and I know if you know what you're doing. And if you kind of put it together, you can answer a lot of the conditional probability and the Bayes probability with your probability trees. So there we go. So these will be with probability trees. And so you can draw a tree to answer a 7.5 question and a 7.6 question because they're both dealing with conditional probabilities, right? So the tree would look something like I either have A happen or A not happen. And remember, they can have as many branches as we want, like you saw in the homework. But I'm just going to use a 2 branch just to go fast. So A happens, A doesn't happen. Well, then B either happens given that A occurred, or B doesn't happen given that A occurred, right? So we have the conditional probability idea in here, and we have the probability tree. So we can also answer Bayes theorem type questions using, don't want a big bracket, using these trees. So, long story short, draw trees. Now, as far as your work goes, remember, just like any other test, this test, you have to show your work. You do not get your credit for just typing in a number. Now, I do know some of these counting problems, especially maybe something from like 6.3, you could just do it in your head. Okay, but for something that's bigger or any kind of probability problem, show me the work. Even if you say I can still do it in my head, still just show me where did it come from. Like if you're doing one of those marble problems where there are 7 reds and 3 whites, and I ask you what's the probability when pulling 4 marbles out of a bag. We're going to pull 4. Okay, if we're pulling 4 marbles out of the bag, what's the probability of getting exactly, well, that's supposed to be a 4, there you go, exactly 3 reds. Okay, if you can do that in your head, fantastic. But still, show me how you did it. Well, the probability would be out of the 10 marbles, I need 3 reds. But I'm pulling a total of 4 marbles. So therefore, out of the remaining white marbles, the 3 white marbles, I need to pull one of those. Now, over the denominator was just out of 10, I need to just choose 4 marbles. Write that down on your paper. Take a picture of that and upload it to your OneNote within 30 minutes of completing your test, because this is showing your work. Also, if you were trying to show your work to somebody else and they said, "Hey, what's the probability?" and they didn't agree, you would have to show them how you came up with your number to see if you guys agreed or didn't agree, right? And also, if you type something goofy in your calculator, I can look at this and say, "Oh, yeah, 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 they were right. They just must have typed it in wrong," and I can give you partial credit. Um, so again, write out your work. Make sure you write it. Make sure you take pictures of your work and upload it to OneNote within 30 minutes of completing your test. You have 2 hours to take the test, and I wish you the best of luck. And of course, if you have any questions, always ask. Ask before you start the test, because I can't reset timers. So ask, please. One more thing I want to show you is I want to make sure everybody knows another resource to study from. I mean, of course, we can go to past assignments and we can go and look at old homework problems. So you can go into here and find something from whatever section you want to study. Section, 7.3, 7.4, probability, or the probability using counting techniques. But also, I want to make sure you guys have seen the personal study plan. In the personal study plan, you'll notice there's chapter 6, chapter 7, and it really doesn't matter where you click. I'll click into chapter 7, because when you go in here, it actually gives you all the chapters anyway. And you'll see in here, I'm able to flag the ones that I think are important, but me personally, I'm not able to change the problems. These problems were selected by WebAssign. So if you want a little practice quiz on section 7.3, you can click that. And the good news is this is not proctored. I mean, sorry, it's not for credit. So you can do the quiz as many times as you want. It doesn't affect your grade. There's also little tutorials you can go do that will help you with these problems. So at this point, hopefully you're not needing the tutorials, but hopefully you can go in here and say, I'm going to click into this practice and I'm going to try some problems and see how I do. So it's another good place to come practice and get problems ready. And earlier in the video, you saw how I'm kind of selecting the problems, which sections, so that'll help. And then also you'll notice there's a probability chapter quiz. So this will be all the problems mixed up. So you can click in here as well and get a little bit from everything. So this will range all the way from 7.1 to 7.6. And of course, it's not for a grade. So if you say, I don't want to practice the 7.1 problem because Professor Torque said he's not giving us 7.1 problems, then don't. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys knew about that resource. All right, good luck on your test.